Now, next, we're going to talk about the work options while you're in school, because also we get a lot of prospective international students asking these questions about work, right? Everybody wants to make some money, right? Even if you're still in school. When I was an international student, I used to work a lot, okay? And the US government allows international students up to 20 hours to work. And this is on campus work, right? Basically meaning you can only work within the school that you've been admitted. All right, so, but there's actually instances where maybe you might request for, maybe you might put in a special request to your school official, and you can get actually work authorization to work off campus. Now, in this case, maybe let's say, for example, you came here, your sponsor probably passed on, and maybe you don't have someone to sponsor you. So if you can be able to prove that, or let's say, for example, you came here back in your country, there was something happened, maybe some economic hardship or anything like that. Let's say, for example, there was a drought. Maybe you guys are farmers. There was a drought. And also, let's say, for example, maybe there was some violence. Who knows? These things happened, right? And maybe whoever was sponsoring you, they couldn't be able to support you. If you can be able to prove that, there's something called economic hardship that you can request, special request you can put in through your school official, and you can be able to get a work authorization to enable you work off campus. Okay, and because off campus, there's more opportunities, because on campus, it's just the jobs within the school. Off campus, there's so many places where you can be able to work. So yeah, so there's those options for work. Okay, now on campus jobs, I guess students asking also, what are the on campus jobs out there? Maybe you can work as a graduate assistant. We've talked about that. You can also work as a lab assistant, a librarian. You can work in the dining. Me, I used to work in the dining hall. I used to do a lot of work. Like there's a lot of jobs in school. So many departments, they look for people. So just go out there, start looking for these jobs. Once you land in the school, start applying. Go looking for those jobs. Knock the doors. No one will give you the job just by sitting there and hoping that someone will actually give you the job. No. You actually have to go knocking those doors and asking for those jobs. Go to the website, ask your professors, your school officials about the jobs, and you'll be able to get them. There's always jobs for international students out there. Now, one thing that you need to understand is that this is a mistake that a lot of international students make, is that, they can come here and be able to make really, really good money and be able to pay for their education. It's not possible, because when you're working as a student, really, you get paid minimum wage, maybe $8, $7, depending with the state that you are in, okay? And that money will only be enough for you to take care of your living expenses, maybe your rent, your groceries, that's it. But it can't take care of your school fees because it's very, very expensive, right? So be smart about these things. Don't think that you can just come and start working as a student and actually be able to fund your education. Where will you get $50,000 per year, honestly, right? So you need to be smart about these things, right? Now, the other option is called CPT. This is a curricular practical training. This is an arrangement where maybe the school that you are going to, part of what they do in their programs is for you actually to get, like, for example, an internship, and it will count towards your grades for graduation. So if there's arrangements like that, schools usually offer that as CPT, where you can actually work off campus, okay? Maybe an internship or something like that, and you'll be able to make some extra money. Now, you also, when it comes to CPT, you have to be very careful. If you take a full-time CPT, you may end up not being able to get your post-graduation work authorization. So I advise you not really to use that, okay? If you can, just take part-time CPT if there is that option for you, but don't take it as full-time, because if you do that, you won't have the post-graduation work authorization. You'll have used that for your CPT. So it's very, very important that you understand that. Okay, so those are the different work options while you're still in school. Again, please understand you are coming here to study. Focus on studying. If you are really serious student who want to come and study here in the US, just focus with school, study, do the jobs. You know, as a master student, by the way, I didn't mention this. The good thing is that mostly master students, your classes are usually in the evenings, usually from 5-6 p.m. until late in the evenings, because most master students, or even PhD students, they usually are people who are already working. Maybe they have a job somewhere, like for example, Americans, right? Because you're gonna be with Americans also in the classes. So they set their classes in the evenings, so that now you have time to work and then come to school. So this gives you a lot of time during the day where you can work. Me, I used to work a lot. Okay, I used to work in dining halls. I used to work as a graduate assistant, all over the place. I used to work, right? So you can work during the day, and then in the evening you go to school. Okay, and as an international student, you are required to take a minimum of 9 credit hours. Usually for masters, a unit will be 3 credit hours. Okay, so 9 credit hours basically means you can take 3 units. 3 units basically means 3 subjects minimum, and a maximum of 15 credit hours. So maximum of 15 credit hours basically means you are taking 5 units, so up to 5 units. So let's say, for example, you are taking a minimum of 9 credit hours, which is 3 units. You can actually have a class maybe on Friday, Thursday, maybe and Wednesday. And like I said, most of the day, you are not going to school. I mean, during the day, you are going to school in the evening. Then Monday and Tuesday, you don't have anything to do. So you can actually work during those hours. And of course, also work on your assignments. There's usually a lot of assignments that you have to do when you are studying here in the US. It's quite different from our countries, especially where I come from. But here in the US, they actually want you to pass. That's what you need to understand. Like, there'll be a lot of assignments. Even when you attend classes, they just give marks for free, just attending. So a lot of people, they do so well. Even when I came here, did very well. For me, when I was back in my country, it was very hard for us to get A's. But here in the US, it's very hard for you to score D's. In fact, actually for master's level, there's no D's. I think the minimum that you can score is a C. And it's very hard for you to get a C if you are a really serious student. Okay, so it's easiest to score those A's. All right, okay. You're watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show, presented to you by Upstack America. Upstack America is a consulting company that helps immigrants find amazing higher education and job opportunities in the tech industry in the United States. You can find our programs by going to www.upstackamerica.com. Upstack America, we wake you up to the unlimited potential within you. So what you're gonna do is I'm gonna open this session now for Q&A. Well, I'll try to read some of the questions here and see whether I can be able to answer all of them. Now, there's someone by the name Morris. He says that he's been in contact with Bob before. I did send my school credentials, which he approved, and gave a green light to apply to join Upstack. So yes, I'm qualified. I want to do a master's in data science. However, I need to know the loan repayment procedures. Well, now, I don't know. I don't want to dwell too much on our programs here because that's really not what brought us here. But through the Kenya Airlift program, we have the handbook that specifically says the interest rate that is offered through the program, through our circle. You can check that out. I think it's 1% per month. And you repay once you graduate from school, and that loan is for relocation expenses. In terms of loans from the lenders, let's say, for example, if you take a Prodigy loan, you can always go to Prodigy website and check their loan repayment interest rate. It's usually between around 9% and above. And same thing with the Empower. Also, you can be able to know the interest rate for that. Now, repayment period, I think it's 10 years, I believe. I'm not very sure. I think 10 or 12. It all depends. Anyways, just go to the website again, Prodigy or Empower Financing, and you'll be able to see all that information. Securities, again, these loans, they are unsecured international student loans. So basically the security is you. you must be smart. That's why I said it's not just for anybody out there. You have to have a very good GMAT score or GRE score. You have to show you're a smart person. And if you're coming to do a very marketable program, let's say, for example, you're saying you're coming to do data science, that's the security for you. You're coming to a very good program. So they know that you have a very high chance of getting a job. Those are the kind of students that they want to lend to. They don't just lend to just anybody out there. So there's no other security that is needed. There's someone here who is anonymous, says that, could you talk a little bit about bachelor's, master's programs, for example, that in Colombia, where you can do an additional year taking a master's level and get a master's degree? Yes, I know there's those options where you have like dual programs, where you can do your bachelor's and at the same time also you can start doing your master's studies. What you need to do is just get in touch with the universities that offer those programs that you're interested in, that are dual programs, and you should be able to get to know more about that information. Okay. All right, but yes, it's possible. Some schools, I don't think it's every school out there that offers those kind of options, but I know there's that, where you can be able to do your bachelor's and at the same time also you undertake your master's. Okay, so those are the two questions that I can see. There's another one here from Ian. He says, for prospective STEM MBA students without previous STEM careers, is career change possible? Yes, well, most MBAs out there, they are not really STEM, but there are some schools out there, they classify them as STEM. So you just need to ask whether your program is a STEM program. Also depends with which concentration you are taking, because MBA is very generic, right? So you can take an MBA, for example, in data analytics. If the school has classified that as a STEM program, then that's good for you, right? You can also take an MBA program in, let's say, for example, information technology as a concentration. That could be a STEM program, right? But generally, MBA, just a generic MBA, that won't be a STEM program. It will just be a regular master's program. And that will only get you just 1 year of post-graduation work authorization, OPT, that we talked about. Okay. Now, I believe the students want to know whether you can do a career change. Yes, like for example, you see, I always give my own example, right? I came to the US as a master's student, as an MBA student. Me, I didn't have any IT undergraduate. I didn't have any IT background. No. Okay. But what I did was, because I realized, remember I told you guys, I was finding it a little bit hard, not a little bit actually, very hard to get jobs. So I had to extend school by 1 semester. So what I did was I got trained in the IT, on IT job skills as an Oracle systems analyst. Okay. And that's how I was able to now to get a job, because I was trained on job skills. There's a lot of companies out there. We do such training programs. That's what Wilfred talked about. You know, we have training programs on robotics. For example, you can train as a robotics business analyst. You can train as a robotics developer. You can train as a data scientist on artificial intelligence and machine learning. You can also train as an Oracle systems analyst. These training programs, even though they are IT programs, even though the IT skills that you are being trained on, you can actually do them if you come from a background that is not necessarily IT. And that's really what I did. Right. Let's say, for example, if you come for an MBA, I did an MBA and I was able to train on IT job skills and I was able to get a job, because IT and business is quite related. You understand? And by the way, I see a lot of people out there getting scared of IT, thinking that, you know, if you don't have any IT background, then it's not easy for you to get to transition. No, because there's me when I used to work as an IT consultant, I never used to do any coding. I can't write even one single line of code. Okay, right? Because I used to implement from the front end. There's a lot of jobs out there. In fact, actually, so many of them where you work from the front end. Okay, so you don't need to have any tech background for you to get into the tech space. Okay, all right. So you just need to know exactly what you want to study, what you would also want to do as a career, what are the training programs out there for you that can enable you now, you know, get those skills that are needed in the job market. And we said we can talk about this in another session, because I think time is up for us. So let me take another question. In this era of working remotely, is it possible to find a company to sponsor me for H1B working remotely from Kenya? No, it's not possible. You have to be physically here. Let's say, for example, you get sponsorship to work on H1B visa through Upstack America. The government, the US government, requires us to bring you here in Tampa, not even anywhere in the US. You have to be physical. You can work remotely, but you have to be physically located in Tampa. You don't have to go to the office for Upstack, but you can be in your house, but in Tampa, because also they do checks. Okay, they do random checks sometimes to check whether, because some of these programs, for example, H1Bs, they can, they are very vulnerable to abuse, right? Companies can abuse them and file for people who are, non-existent, right? So they don't want to do that. So you have to be physically here, even though you're working remotely, even though you're not going physically to the office. So I've answered your question, hopefully. Does Upstack support admission support to universities, not on your list? Well, we normally work with the schools that are in our list. We keep on expanding the list. And the reason is because these are schools that we work with, some of the schools that we have official partnership with. We know that, for example, let's say where Wilfred is studying, we know that if you go there through our program, you have a very high chance of getting, graduate assistantship award, because you're going to be considered because you come through our program. So that's how we work. But again, also the other thing, another factor that we have to consider is also the lenders, because part of what we do in our programs is that we hook you up with the lenders. Remember, I said we have, unsecured international student loans that we can offer you through our official lending partners. For example, Empower is our official lending partner. Prodigy is also our preferred partner, but they are not yet our official lending partner. So not every school is supported by these lenders. So, it has to be a school that is supported by them. So if it's a school that is supported by them and you need a loan, then at the end of the day, we can be able to help you out. Again, through our programs, we don't just take anybody just because we want to come to the US. We have to make sure that you have the funding, because we realize a lot of people out there, they go looking for bank statements from wherever they can get them, go to the embassy, present them, then come here and then struggle. We don't want that to happen. In case actually our program is not just a matter of you coming here and studying, also helping you get jobs once you graduate from school. That's why you have those training programs on the side. We support you once you graduate from school. We hook you up with employers who are looking for people with the skills that you have. All right. Someone here is asking, hi, hello. You said that working in corporate America requires unique and specific skills. Kind to share any? Well, I like talking about mostly IT because that's really what we focus on mostly. Okay, I might be biased into IT because also I don't want to talk about something that I'm not very sure of. Now, for example, in IT, there's a huge demand. Also, I know in healthcare, there's a huge demand of people who have those kind of skills. Mostly, like, for example, in the IT sector, if you're working in corporate America, most of the people that you'll find working there as consultants, mostly it's Asians, specifically Indians. Okay, and they are working there because most Americans don't have those kind of skills. Okay, IT consulting skills. We're not talking about, for example, a skill where maybe you have a computer broken and you are the one who's fixing a computer. No, that's a very basic skill. That one you probably won't have anybody to sponsor you. See, at the end of the day, when a company is sponsoring you, they need someone who can solve complex problems for companies. And that's even what the US government wants. They don't just want to dish out H1Bs and employment-based green cards to anybody out there just because you want them. No. You have to be able to be someone who can solve complex problems for companies. And most of these complex problems, they cannot be solved by Americans. Okay, not many Americans can solve them, right? So they need us. They need those brilliant minds from everywhere across the world to come and help them out, solve those problems. I say that, most of the innovations here, they are done by international students, by people who came as international students. Okay, if you can be able to show that, then you're going to be able to get sponsored and you're going to be able to live and work here long-term once you graduate from school. Okay. And there's someone else here. What courses you think are relevant across time and what courses are more ephemeral? What 3 courses would you take if you had to start again now? And what 3 courses would you have avoided in retrospect? Now, honestly, first of all, to me, IT was never my cup of tea. Okay, I was more inclined into doing being an accountant, you know, and things like those. So, and I had no idea what IT was all about. I mean, I knew IT about computers and stuff like that, but I had no idea about consulting life. Okay, so if I was to start this all over again and I was to find myself in your situation where you want to come and study here in the US, and I had the kind of undergraduate I did, which was a Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting and Finance, I would take a Master of Science in Business Analytics because one, I really don't love coding. Okay, so Master of Science in Business Analytics, probably it's not very techy coding heavy. I think the kind of coding language that you have to do is Python. I know Python, it's not very hard in terms of learning how to code. I think it's one of the easiest coding language. So I think I'll do business analytics master's program. And I would basically, in terms of 3 courses, probably maybe business analytics, maybe I would take maybe something like, I still have to take a STEM program, no matter what. Maybe I would do like operations management, still also a STEM program. Maybe I do even project management. I'll still try to find something that doesn't involve any coding at all, because that's not my thing. Okay. So of course I would avoid very heavy coding stuff, like for example, computer science, software engineering, and all that, because I don't like that stuff. Okay, but that's not to mean that those are not good courses. Those are very marketable courses. It all depends also with your level, right? You know yourself, right? Do you like these things? Can you do them also, right? Because STEM is not for anybody out there, right? Right. So yeah, so that's what it is. And another question: for prospective students in non-profit sector in finance roles and not in IT, does Upstack America support the admission process? Well, as long as you come through as long as you're interested in studying anything related to business or IT, you can come to us and decide to do an MBA in finance, or do MSc in finance, or do Master of Accountancy. Yeah, so we support those programs. Remember, our programs, they are more tailored towards helping you get a footing in the corporate world here in the US. Not just come to school. Okay, come to school, finish your master's, get done with that, then get the skills that are needed in the job market, then get into the corporate America. So we can only do that if we bring students who are in the same line as what we do as a company here in the US, which is basically IT consulting. And for you to do IT consulting, you can do IT consulting even without finance, accounting background, just general business background, mathematics, all those, anything related to that, you can always do IT programs, right? Because remember also I said, you can be in the IT industry working as a consultant. You don't have to code anything. You can work there as a business analyst. You can work there as a systems analyst. You can work in fintech, all that. All right. So it's possible to get into IT without necessarily being a programmer. Because when you talk about IT, most people think IT, it's all that about programming and all. I think the last question here is, I think the last question here that I got is, do you help students apply to Colombia? Well, currently we are not working with Colombia as our official partners, but who knows, maybe very soon. But if you come through our programs and let's say, for example, we realize that Colombia, they maybe work with some of the lenders that you work with, yeah, we can help you get into Colombia. Okay. You've been watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show, brought to you by Upstack America. Come back next time to hear more steps and missteps that I took on the path to becoming a successful immigrant in USA. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn.